This is our first meeting at 5 o'clock, so I want to welcome everybody. I'm glad you guys showed up. So let's go ahead and stand for the prayer and the pledge of allegiance on the flag.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this glorious day. We thank you for all that you are and all that you do. Thank you for this wonderful community, those who are in prayer throughout the tragedies that have struck our county. We're reminded of Matthew 5:4. Blessed are those who mourn. I'd like to thank you for just blessing us with such a wonderful community. Thank you for togetherness. We're thankful for faith. We thank you for your birth and sacrifice of your Son, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. It's in his name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, go ahead and get started. We've got the agenda in front of us for June 27th before us. Is there any additions, deletions, or correction to the agenda, Council? Okay, hearing none, the agenda would be accepted as unanimous consent. Next is the minutes of May 23rd and June 13th before us. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes? Okay, hearing none, the chair moves that the minutes be accepted as unanimous consent. Okay, next is the disbursements of June 20th and June 27th. Council's had a chance to take a look at it. Is there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the disbursements? Okay, hearing none, the chair moves that the disbursements be accepted as unanimous consent. Okay, so first up on the agenda tonight is our presentation of the Upper Shore Workforce Investment Board. Dan, you want to come on up? Sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes.
Talbot County Council. Yeah. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure having you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Rest of these just an updated rank card,
Yep.
really
Yep.
brief information on us.
Thank you.
I come to you tonight looking for consent on two required
Could we
documents.
start off and could you tell them who you are
Yes,
and what you represent?
absolutely.
Yes,
I
that'd be
am
great.
Dan Schneckenburger. I'm the Executive Director of the Upper Shore Workforce Investment Board. We serve Kent, Caroline, Queen Anne's, Talbot, and Dorchester counties on the federal WIOA law. And we administer Title I workforce training services to all eligible residents in those counties. Because we are under WIOA federal law, they require us to update certain plans. So we had two plans. One was an MOU, a resource sharing agreement, which encompasses all the various partners we have in the American Job Center throughout the 5 counties. So that document was 2020 to 2024, so WIOA law requires us to do a 2-year update. So that document is number one, asking for your approval this evening. The second document is a little larger. It's called the WIOA local plan. That's also prescriptive to WIOA guidelines, and it basically walks through the WIOA law and how the Upper Shore WIB will administer those programs either through our office or additional partners like the Department of Labor. All of these, the WIOA local plan was required to go through a public comment period for 3 weeks. That has commenced or ended on Monday the 19th. We have not seen any public comments whatsoever on the plan. That was up on our website, and we had a press release to advertise that to the general public get input. So there is no fiscal note attached to either one of these plans as it affects Talbot County government. And so for the last 2 years, our services, we have rendered $148,000 of workforce training to Talbot County residents, and that's a total of 56 individuals that reside in Talbot County. So that's all I have. I'll
Okay.
answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah, okay, counsel? Yeah, yeah.
Can you talk about the Workforce Investment Board's role with assisting the Talbot County Public Schools in its blueprint? I know that there's a mandate and that they've been working with you to be able to accomplish a piece of that training, and to what extent that has been incorporated into these planning documents.
WIOA doesn't require any explanation of blueprint. Probably on the WIOA local plan, page 35, there's a reference to how we have outreach to the public education system. So blueprint for Maryland's future was referenced. But to go back to your question, we have a signed executed agreement with Talbot County Public Schools that includes Chesapeake College, where we've all three have various roles in the upcoming CT implementation, Pillar 3.4 of the blueprint law. So we have agreed with an MOU to disperse funds that the state has provided us for this effort. They are actively recruiting for, I believe, 3 positions, career coach positions, and both Chesapeake College and the WIB will function in a more of a program coordination and oversight role with them. But we're also working on the actual curriculum. This blueprint requires that we offer CTE education from grades 6 through 12. So we're actively talking to your Board of Education on what that looks like for grades 6 through 12. And so we have a 3-year MOU, the Accountability Implementation Board, AAIB, which has control over this new education program. They will still continue to have some input on our MOU and our curriculum development, but we're going to continue to meet. We've had 1 meeting. We're going to continue to meet over the summer to flesh this out and probably begin the program somewhere in the early fall of this year.
Okay.
That's of course only a small piece of your responsibilities. In terms of your capacity, how has this changed in terms of you already had a job to do in terms of training? How much did you have capacity to do this? Clearly the schools turned to you because they felt that they did not internally have the capacity and they needed your assistance to be able to do
Well,
this.
House Bill 1300 was passed in 2022, and that required the workforce investment boards to work together with the boards of education and your local community college to come up with a CTE program that would work. I would tell you on one side of it, I do like the program because CTE education is very important, and it's very important for middle schoolers. A lot of our clients that come to the Workforce Investment Board are coming out of high school, and if they're not going to college, many of them do not have a plan for what they want to do once they graduate. So we already do individual career counseling for every person that interacts with us so we can qualify them for a specific workforce training that we believe they want, and also something we can offer them that they'll be successful in. So the WIBs have done it for years, and I believe the bill was correct to involve us in this process to help the schools implement this type of program, because I think ultimately it will benefit all of us and certainly benefit the qualified workforce. I'm sure all of you have heard from employers that have told you we're not getting good applicants, they don't seem to know what it is about the work, the soft skills are missing, there's just a number of gaps that we're seeing with our graduates that this bill tends to alleviate. So, all of us will not know the results of this for 7 years until the sixth grader gets completely through the program, but it's a good start, and we endeavor to make Talbot County's blueprint program work very well from year one and continue.
Thank you for your role in that.
Yeah.
I don't have other questions.
Welcome. Okay.
I have one for him, Chuck.
Sure.
Just to follow up on what Mr. Lesher asked. Dan, I know that for Talbot County, they are asking for certified teachers for their program. And so have you found that the other counties are doing that as well and following suit in Queen Anne's and Caroline County?
We've had that discussion with Talbot County. We have offered to certify them. There is a global certification certificate program that other counties are looking to do. We have offered this and will offer to pay for it, this type of training for all their new hires. So whether they come in with a certificate that's recognized as a career coach certificate, they hire one, or they get this training and this certification before they actually step in the classroom is still under discussion.
But they are requiring a certified teacher that has the educational background for this position. So is Caroline and Queen Anne's requiring that as well?
They are not.
Okay, thank you. That
But
was my question.
other counties may be looking into it. I can't speak to say what Montgomery County might be looking for. There's very few certifications already in this field. There's a lot of counseling certifications,
Right.
but is it specific to what we're trying to do? The global certification is widely recognized, and I believe a lot of counties are going to move in that direction.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Is there, is that it? Yeah,
No further questions.
Okay. Is there a motion to go ahead and approve the request?
And this is, are we covering both the MOU and the plan in the same motion?
Yeah.
I will so move.
Second.
Okay, got a motion second to go ahead and approve your request. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayth?
Aye.
Okay. Sounds great. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks
you
a
very
lot.
much.
Yep.
Look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay, that'd be great. All right. Okay, next on the agenda is the Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation Foundation easement application for FY '24. Ann, welcome.
Thank you.
Good.
Ann Roane, I'm the long-range planner for Talbot County. This is an annual request. This program is over 40 years old. Talbot County's participated for 40 plus years. It is a program that usually the deadline is the end of June. We start soliciting for applications for applicants in February, and they go through our regular review process. We rank them according to various issues or items, like soils, of course, being one of the main ones, contiguous to other farms that are in preservation. There's a whole list of stewardship practices, things that we rank them, they get points, and then staff brings the top, in this case, this year, the state's accepting up to 20. In the past, historically, it's been 12. Governor Hogan allocated quite a bit more money, so this year they're accepting 20. These recommendations go to the Ag Preservation Advisory Board, They make a recommendation to the planning commission. The planning commission then makes a recommendation to the county council, which is why we're here today. And the council will vote to forward these applications to the state. These are due Monday. We got a little bit extra time this year because there was more money in the program. So they gave us a few extra days.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Already got them answered, thank you.
Okay. All right, well, good job, man. That's for
Thank
sure.
you.
Okay, all right, so is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, we got a motion second to go ahead and approve the request. Madam Secretary, you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Okay.
Ms. Roane, I just want to thank you for coordinating this program. I know how important this is to our agricultural community, how this brings needed funds to farmers and brings that public benefit of permanently preserved farmland for agricultural purposes. It's really important to all of us, and thank you for making sure that we can take advantage of this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you for your support. The farmers thank you for your support. So.
Thank you,
Good.
Ann.
Okay. Okay. Next on the agenda is Finance Office approving the fourth quarter budget transfers for fiscal year 22-23. Hey, Martha.
Hey there.
How
Good
are
evening,
you?
council. It's good to see you all.
Good, good.
So what I have before you
Let's
is
tell
a
everybody
request.
who you are. Just tell everybody who you are.
Okay, Martha Sparks, Director of Finance.
There you
Proud
go.
Director of
There
Finance,
you
Talbot
go,
County.
there you
Maryland.
go.
So what I have before you is a request to approve fourth quarter transfers. We have brought on the first one to you back in April, and this one is just, basically it is a housekeeping item. So these transfers are in accordance with Section 615 of the Talbot County Charter, which states that transfers between agencies of the county government and within the same fund of the current expense budget may be made only during the last quarter of the fiscal year and only on the recommendation of the county manager and with the approval of the council. So this list that I have is our second request, as I mentioned. This second request focuses on amending the budget for items that have exceeded their appropriation, but they are offset by revenues. So it is a negative, effect. There was also an adjustment, a request for contingency funds that, as we've gotten to the end of the year, that weren't needed. So I just reversed that budget. It was actually included in the first transfer. So I just reversed that out. If you have any questions about those, I ask for your approval for those transfers.
We've had a lot of good news on the revenue front this year, and it's nice to be able to adjust the budget in this direction.
Yes.
So I'll move approval of the budget transfers as forwarded by staff.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to go ahead and approve the transfers. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Okay. Great.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Martha. Good job. Okay, next, introduction of legislation. Madam Secretary, could you go ahead and read the first bill into the record, please?
A bill to amend Chapter 20 of the Talbot County Code, Board of Appeals, for clarity and consistency and regarding the Board of Appeals proceedings, forms, hearings, and procedures.
Okay. Mr. Thomas, you want to go ahead and bring us up to speed on that, please?
Sure. So
Yep.
this bill was requested by the Board of Appeals. They discussed the proposed language in several meetings
Mm-hmm.
and submitted it to the county council for review and approval. It cleans up some inconsistencies in the code. It also, I think, provides for some clarity regarding their procedures. I don't know if anybody from the board might want to come up.
Yeah,
and-
yeah, yeah.
Perfect. You gentlemen might want to come up and
You guys can come on up. Yep.
I'm Frank Cavanaugh, I'm chairman of the Board of Appeals, and this is my vice chairman, Lou Dorsey.
Okay. Yep. Yeah.
Board member.
Yep. Yeah, come on up, Zach. Yep, come on up. Yep. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Yep.
As kind of what's explained here,
Yeah.
we've done chapter 20 to update it. We did our rules and procedures that you all approved not long ago. We updated those. They hadn't been done in quite a while. And when we did those, looking at chapter 20, there were some inconsistencies.
I got you.
So we worked with our board's attorney and with the county attorney, and we
Right.
tried to bring everything into
Good.
conformity, so everything is
That's great.
simplified and
Okay.
everything fits together, meshes together. So it's
Yep.
basically just some housekeeping and bringing stuff up to date. There's been
Okay.
some, over the years, some changes and minor
Sure.
changes in how forms are submitted. We're one line now and
Good.
some costs, and so
Okay.
we brought that all up to date.
Well,
So
we-
that's pretty much what it is. It's just a matter of bringing everything in conformity.
Right.
Chapter 20 with our rules and procedures.
Okay, well, thank you. Any questions from council? Well, we appreciate you staying on top of it, and we really appreciate your service and doing, you guys do a great job, and we don't get to see that often, but.
Yeah, we're here on other.
Exactly, yeah, so, but we appreciate all you guys do for us, that's for sure.
We try. We have
Yeah.
right now, we have a very good board. It works very well.
That's great.
And we're
Yep. That
plugging
sounds-
along.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, okay.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes, sir.
We can use this occasion because we are currently one member short. We've
Yes.
advertised for member. This
Yes,
is
we are.
a crucial board in terms of moving forward applications and ensuring that people get the due process that they deserve. And we need another member of this community to step up and to assist with this, to join this fine board that we have now. So just use this opportunity to get that word out in another fashion.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
great. Yep.
Vice President Lesher, I appreciate that very much. Yes, we've been short since the beginning of the year. We've been short an alternate for the board. And especially during the summer season when board members are on vacation or have family commitments, it's pretty crucial that we have the 3 alternate spots filled, and we have been short one. So if you do get an application, I would appreciate that I know you have to do your due diligence on it, but move it through for us as quickly as you can with
Yep, sure. Okay, then.
we appreciate that.
Okay, so at this point, raise the hands to introduce this.
So by council,
Okay, if you can go ahead, Madam Secretary, and give us the date and time.
Yes, this will be known as Bill number 1545, and the public hearing will be held on Tuesday, July 25th at 5:30 PM.
All right, then, guys, thanks a lot. Appreciate you coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Next, Madam Secretary.
A bill to authorize a feasibility study for and possible future construction of a Talbot County Visitor Center.
Okay. Mr. Thomas, you want to go ahead and explain that, please?
Yeah, so this is a capital legislation enabling bill. This was pulled from the last agenda just to add a little bit of clarity to make, so we're clear that this is authorizing the feasibility study, but not necessarily the construction of visitor center. That
Right.
would come in the future. It just leaves that as a possibility. So
I got you.
just
No.
adds a little more clarity.
I got you. That's good. I appreciate that. Council?
No questions?
We good?
Mr. Stan.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to mention Cassandra is in the room if you have any questions relative to this project. This would fall under her area of responsibility.
I got you.
No.
Okay. You want to come up, or?
Thank you, Council.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Council.
Yeah.
Cassandra Van Hooser, Director of Economic Development and Tourism.
Yep.
This is really straightforward. We received funding, you may recall, through the Rural Economic Development Fund for a feasibility study. That RFP has been issued, and we will be opening the bids in Clay's office at 10 o'clock on Friday. So we have the funding to do the study, and this just clears the pathway to implement anything if the opportunity arises. So it's just for the feasibility study.
Okay. All right then. All right, so at this point, show of hands.
Introduced by council.
So Madam Secretary, could go ahead and introduce the bill and the time and date.
Yes, this will be known as Bill number 1546, and the public hearing will be on Tuesday, July 25th at 5:30 PM.
Good job.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Sandra, appreciate it. Okay. Now we've got Clay stuff, you know?
Thank you, Mr. Council President, members of the council. Your county manager report for this week.
Yeah.
Under boards and committee appointments, we have several. The first would be regarding the Commission on Aging. We're asking council's approval for Ms. Kate Stinton to be added to the Commission on Aging as a private citizen.
I will move for the appointment of Kate Stinton.
Okay,
Second.
Okay, so we've got a motion second to put Kate Stinton on the committee. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
The next is a request regarding the Ethics Commission. We're requesting the reappointment of Googie Irving III and Sharon Harrington to serve on the Ethics Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, got a motion second to put two people on the Ethics Committee. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
And the next board and commission would be the Property Tax Assessment Appeals Board, requesting to submit the names of Mr. John Murray and Mr. Dan Billingsley to the Governor's Office for consideration of appointment to this Property Tax Assessment Appeals Board.
I'll move those two appointments, Mr. Murray, Mr. Billingsley.
Second.
Okay, got a motion second to go ahead and put three people on the tax board. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
And the next item will be, involves the Talbot Family Network, requesting the appointment of Chief Anthony Smith as a private sector representative with his impending retirement, Victoria Billings, Chop Tank Community Health, Jennifer Villacorta, Chesapeake Multicultural Resource Center, Lauren Weber for All Seasons, requesting their appointment to the Talbot Family Network.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion second to put a few people on the Talbot Family Network. Can you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
The next item, I'll ask Ms. Linda Webb to come up. She's the director of our Talbot County Department of Social Services. She's here this evening to ask council's permission to enter/extend an intergovernmental agreement between Talbot County and the Department of Social Services for FY24 to procure legal services with the law firm of Braden, Thompson, Poltrack, Mundy, and McQueenie. This is an ongoing interagency services agreement. It's no fiscal cost to the county, and she's here to go over that with you. So welcome, Linda.
Thank you. Thank you. Linda Webb, Director of the Talbot County Department of Social Services, and I brought with me.
And I'm Ben Pitsley, Assistant Director of Administration for Talbot County Department of Social Services.
Welcome.
Thanks. Nice to see you all.
Nice seeing you guys.
So the county has been in partnership with the Department of Social Services for a number of years to procure legal services from the law firm that County Manager Stamp mentioned. There are three areas of the Department of Social Services primarily that utilize legal services. The first is our child support unit. These attorneys, primarily Michael Ann Mundy, represents the department during child support hearings when we establish paternity, establish child support orders, when we modify those child support orders, and when obligors or non-custodial parents fall a certain number of months out of compliance in paying child support, and we need to go back in front of the court for some enforcement action. So that's the first of the three areas where legal services assist the department. The second is in adult services. This law firm represents the department primarily in adult guardianship cases. So occasionally we are notified by the attorneys of, for example, the hospital or a long-term care facility. Occasionally it's an attorney for a family when there is no family or friend able to provide care for an adult age 18 to 64. These are typically adults that have been deemed unable to care for their own business through several medical professionals. And so the law firm represents us in court as we walk through with the court the situation surrounding that particular individual's life and whether or not they're capable of caring for their own business, whether or not there's a family or friend willing and able to do so, and if not, then the Department of Social Services, specifically I, am named guardianship of the person. We do not take guardianship of the property. There's typically an attorney or other that handles that business. The third of the three areas is essentially at every step along the continuum of child welfare services. So if there arises a situation where we've received a Child Protective Services report and or we've been providing in-home services to a family and we believe that we are unable to retain those, a child or children in their home safely, then we have the authority under law to do what's called sheltering children, which means bringing children into our care, my guardianship, until we can get before the court for what's called a shelter hearing. And the law firm represents the department in those shelter hearings as we work with the court, the family, and the child's attorney, the family's attorney, to determine whether or not the child or children are what's called a child in need of assistance. If the court identifies that the child is a child in need of assistance and there is no family who can provide care for those children, then again, those children are put into my guardianship. When children are in my guardianship, this law firm then represents the department. Again, the child has an attorney, the family has an attorney, at regular points along the way where the court checks in on the work that we're doing with the child and the family to make sure that we are taking all of the steps that we need to provide care and support to everyone involved. There are a number of court hearings along the continuum of child welfare services where legal representation is needed for us. That's working with the court to identify what the appropriate plan of permanency is for that child. Sometimes it's reunification with their family. Sometimes it's guardianship with a family member or friend. Sometimes, unfortunately, it's termination of parental rights, and then we move toward adoption. So legal representation for the department is needed at every one of those steps. And then there are sort of various situations where we need legal representation. For example, if an individual is found to be responsible for an act of child abuse, they have the right to appeal that finding, and the law firm represents the department in those appeal hearings. So there are a number of situations, some of which are highly specialized, in which this law firm provides representation to the department, continuity of representation, especially in those child welfare cases, most especially when they are involving children in our care, is really important to everyone, not only the department, but to all of the parties that are involved in those situations. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay.
No questions?
No? Okay.
No questions, just more of a comment, just to thank you for being there for our community and the ways that you are, especially in the vulnerable moments that you all see. So just a simple thank you.
Thank you.
As our council representative to the Department of Social Services, I've gained greater insight into the depth of services and the compassion with which these services are delivered in our community. Our Department of Social Services is not a typical government department, is not a typical Department of Social Services, and really has a sense of mission to this community, and they deserve all that thanks that Mr. Stepp just passed along.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. As a family law attorney, I'm quite familiar with
Yes.
the services and the law firm, so got my support.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yep. Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll move approval of the contract.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion second to go ahead and go forward with the request of the contract. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, guys. Appreciate all your hard work.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Yep,
so much.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, council, moving forward, the next item we have, I'll call Ray Clark forward, your county engineer. He has several items this evening. The first, he's going to be requesting permission to apply for and accept the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency Region 3 Solid Waste Infrastructure Grant in the amount of $150,000 to build a recycling area and move recycling containers to that area. He'll explain in more detail and be able to answer questions. Ray?
Sure thing. Council, Ray Clark, County Engineer. We were given notice that this grant is available for, I guess, Talbot County. It's part of Region 3 EPA's Region 3, so they're looking at awarding probably between 3 to 5 grants as it relates to the solid waste facilities for recycling primarily. What we're looking at as part of our grant is actually to utilize a lot of the recycled materials from the repurposing facility into this new recycling station, where we would consolidate our recycling stations at Perry Cabin Park as well as Grouse Market. So we would move those to this new site. Thus, we would not be interfering with those, like the grocery store or the park itself. So we would be relocating it at the 329 site, where the Royal Oak Pump Station, or next to the Royal Oak Pump Station.
Okay, council, any questions?
No.
Okay.
If I could just
Yeah.
comment, I know this,
Yeah.
this is a huge win, especially for, for our Parks and Recs organization. We're liaison into where we've had requests for a while now to remove that from the Perry Cabin area out to, the intersection of 329 there. So just want to thank you for your work there, and that's a huge win. So thank you, Ray.
Okay.
Mr. Clark, could you, for the sake of the public interest, I know that the council is aware of the site, but would you describe where the proposed site is?
The site is actually located just, let's say, south of our entrance, where our pump station is. It's basically at the corner of 329 and 33. So you would come off at 33 onto 329. As you're coming off, it'd be over on the left-hand side. Immediately, you would see our pump station, which is kind of right there. And then it would probably be about maybe 200 yards down, maybe, and it would be right, another left right there. So we are trying to look at putting in a facility that probably, hopefully you'll be able to see, we'll put a sign there as well to notify that this is a new recycling station.
It's on the Royal Oak Road, but really in the village of Newcomb.
Correct, yes, sir.
And just to comment on that, that's like going over Oak Creek Bridge, going to St. Michael's on the left-hand side.
Correct.
Okay, just quarter mile down the road on the left.
Correct.
Once you get at the end of the bridge.
Correct.
So people can picture that. Yep.
And the other thing I'd suggest to the council is maybe what we probably do is put some kind of notice in the paper of what we're doing here, just to let everybody know.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep.
Good. Okay, so
Do we want to go ahead and make a motion?
I will move for the what are we doing? Accepting this grant funding
Yes,
or no, it's to apply for the authorization to apply for this grant funding. I'll move for that, and I will take the rolls of thunder outside, not to be divine disapproval of our action.
The second, please.
Okay, we got a motion second to go ahead and start on the approval process with the funding. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Thank you, Council. Ray's going to speak to you next. They're recommending award of change order number 1 for bid number 19-10 engineering services, a preliminary engineering report to upgrade the Region 5 treatment plant to ENR technology, enhanced nutrient removal technology, and Ray's going to explain the details with regard to that.
Yes. Again, Council, we worked with an RFP, submitted that RFP, and I guess posted it back in 2019, ultimately to do a preliminary engineering report to upgrade the Region 5 wastewater treatment plant, or potentially look at relocating that plant or consolidating the plant at the Region 2 wastewater treatment plant. Basically, when we were working with MDE on this, there was some questions about the flow rates. We've been utilizing 125 gallons per day based upon what we've seen as flow rates. MDE wants the report to be reflective of 250 gallons per day. So for us to get this report done, we're going to have to update that to 250 gallons. At the same time, we also want to look at the impacts of sea level rise on Tillman Island, and ultimately determine whether or not we want to build the, upgrade the Region 5 wastewater treatment plant on Tillman Island, or consolidate them. In all fairness, by consolidating our wastewater treatment plants from Region 5 to Region 2, it's going to take a long time. So we're going to evaluate whether it's worthwhile to do that from a timing perspective, or it's best to just go ahead and upgrade the Region 5 wastewater treatment plant.
And specifically, the change order would be issued to Romo Klepper and Call in the amount of $27,520 to accommodate the revised wastewater flows. As Mr. Clark stated, there are sufficient funds in the capital project to cover this.
Okay. Any questions from council?
No. No.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll move for the, to approve the change order number 1 for the bid.
Second.
Yep. Okay, we've got a motion second to go ahead and approve the change order for Region 5.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
The next item we have from Ray is a request for bid number 2208, open-ended architectural engineering services. He's recommending to award architectural engineering services for the Sheriff's Office, EMS garage and storage facility located at Mary's Court in Easton. And I'm going to turn it over to Ray to outline this request, and I'll fill in any blanks afterwards.
Basically, this request is for Desmond Fidel to continue the engineering and architectural design for this garage and storage facility, again, as for EMS as well as the Sheriff's Office. The total price for this phase would be $184,750. Currently, Davis Bond Fidel is working to get out the plans for us right now for bedding out what we call Phase 1. Phase 1 is taking the existing building that we recently purchased and upgrading that building to handle the sheriff on the bottom floor and then the EMS on the second floor. Once those bids are going out at the end of this week. The next step will be, hopefully, we'll have bids come in on August 14th. We'll then be coming back to you all to award those engineering services, construction services for Phase 1. We are also working on Phase 2, which is to build a new Sally Port as well as an EMS addition. So that's something we'll hopefully have happen towards the end of this summer, if not early fall in September. And what we're trying to do is once we have all that in place, we'll then work to go ahead and try and get the next phase here, which would be the storage facility and garage. The storage facility and garage is needed to really move a lot of the sheriff and EMS equipment that's currently stored at the old Black & Decker building and move it into this facility. At the same time, EMS needs, I guess, refrigeration and/or controlled atmosphere for a lot of their storage. So that's the other reason we're working on developing this new storage facility.
I'll just add that this is exciting for the sheriff as well as emergency services. Not only will this building be able to serve into the future our sheriff's office, but it will be the new location of our 911 facility, as well as moving the resources of our emergency services departments over to this location. It's a modular approach. They're fully engaged and been working with Ray on developing this. Obviously, this is a capital project that the council's aware of, and just want to pass it. Has full support of Department of Emergency Services and the Sheriff's Office.
Okay. Any other questions from council?
No questions. I'll make a motion to award bid number 22-19.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion in a second to go ahead and.
This is for bid 2208.
Oh, is it?
Yep, yep,
Okay, 2208.
yep.
And I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion second to go ahead and award bid
Sales moving ahead.
2208. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
I do have one question, Ray. When it says on here, open-ended, help me understand what that means.
This basically, what happens is our open-ended engineering services agreement allows us to go out to the different firms that are basically on our list.
I got you.
So we end up, and we had that for a period of 5 years. So we ended up
fine.
rebidding that out last year. So
Okay.
it gives us the opportunity to go out to these firms for the next 4 years.
Okay, no problem, appreciate it.
I recall doing that, and it
Yeah.
means that we already know the prices for
Yes.
these services. They've already been bid, and so it alloes you an efficiency in being
Correct.
able to get
Yeah.
these,
I just-
this engineering work done.
Right, yeah. I just wanted to make sure that was clear to everybody. You know,
No
that's all.
And Ray has one more issue, then he will have used up all his chips for one meeting.
Yep.
Anyway, Ray will be, Ray's requesting award of bid number 2219, Phase 2, Resolution 235, Region 2 Sewer System Extension of Sewer. He's going to explain in detail. It's broken into two phases. It's the extension of sewer to certain portions of the county. Ray?
Yes, sir. This is actually getting sewer to a lot of the properties that were part of Resolution 235. A lot of this is going to go into the communities of Arcadia Shores, Averly Farms, North Bend, Doncaster. We have some lots down on Glebe Road. At the same time, we've got some lots down on Kemp Road, as well as Rolls Range Road. This basically is going to be in the amount of $2,622,496. We were trying to, we broke the project up into smaller bid packages, but then ultimately that was giving us a disadvantage in pricing for bulk material. So we talked with, during our bidding process, we went and created 2 separate projects and identified 5 areas per project area. So we had 5 different projects. Unfortunately, when we did that, we ended up going from 8 bidders that had bought packages to 1. So we've talked to MDE about that. MDE is supportive, understands the situation, but we only received 1 bid during this process. The bid that we did receive is from Schumer Incorporated. We do work with Schumer. They're the ones that are doing the work in St. Michael's. They've done a lot of work for us. In talking with a couple of the contractors, one of the issues we've ran into is that some of the contractors advised us is that unless you have your directional drilling equipment, the directional drilling is probably 80% of the project. Ultimately, the other 20% is basically digging the pit and putting in the valve connections. We talked to a couple of general contractors and indicated that they did not bid because, you know, if they were the general and they're only doing 20% of the work, they would have to carry that bond for the whole project. So that's part of the reason we ended up, getting only 1 contractor that actually had the capability of doing all the work. So.
Okay.
Mr. Clark, I understand that we now have the force main that goes out to Unionville and Copperville. It goes all the way down Route 33. And this will add those communities, those older developments like Doncaster, North Bend, Averly Farm. But there's also in here some properties on Unionville Road that
Yes.
Can you explain why that's in there? Because I thought we already had a force main along Unionville Road.
I think these are probably outside our sewer service area. So we did have a few lots that were identified as, say, the tier 3Cs at the time. So we are looking at probably getting those lots along Unionville Road also connected as well, that were not part of, let's say, the Unionville project at that time. So these are bringing in as many small lots as we can.
Are these lots beyond Unionville?
They're actually before Unionville.
Okay.
So it's ultimately between, let's say, our Royal Oak pump station as you get out to the Pincushion, and then when you get on the Unionville Road, you go all the way out to Unionville. So it's going to be from the Pincushion out to Unionville Road. We're also picking up lots on Glebe Road. So there are a few lots there on Unionville Road that we're picking up. In addition to those lots, we're also picking up lots on, I think it's Kemp Road. We're coming out Kemp Road and running up and picking some of the waterfront lots there as well. And again, this is, just to let the council know, I mean, we've been working on this now for like the last 5 or 6 years, trying to get this done. We did receive an earmark from Senator Cardin's office in the amount of $911,000. That's going to assist with this project as well. In addition to that, we also have some funding through MDE to also assist with this. Once this project has been completed and that valve has now been installed at that property line, that will then work with each individual property owner to go ahead and install a new step system, which is a septic tank effluent pump system. And then that is actually, the funding for that is the Bay Restoration Funds. So we'll be working with each individual property utilizing the Bay Restoration Funds has been allocated for this project to make those connections.
So that's a lot. But specific to the request, I just want to clarify this for council. You're requesting council approval to award bid number 2219 to the sole bidder Schumer Incorporated in the amount of $2,622,496 upon condition that the Maryland Department of the Environment approves the bid.
That is correct.
That's a specific ask.
Okay.
I'll move the bid award with that contingency for state approval.
Okay, we got a second?
Second.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second to go ahead and award bid 2219. Madam Secretary, could you go ahead and call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Mr. Lusher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Haig?
Aye.
Thank you. We've been busy.
Thank you, Ray. Hey, Ray, I just want to let you know you've done a great job tonight. You've been with us since 3 o'clock.
No problem.
So I do appreciate it.
We'll be back here tomorrow.
Okay, all right.
Thank
We
you,
hope
Ray.
so. We hope.
Thank you, Ray. And I'll ask Martha to come forward. Martha Sparks, your finance director. She's here to request the extension of agreement for financial auditing services. As you read in your agenda packet, the finance director is requesting council approval to extend the contract with SB and Company for FY23 at the cost of $47,490. The county has worked with SB Company under the contract since 2018 through a bid procurement. And I probably stole a lot of your thunder, but I'll hand it over to Martha for fill any details.
I think that about covers it, if you have any questions. I have worked with SB and Company when I was with the town of Centerville, also when I was with Kent County, Maryland. They do many of the counties in the state of Maryland. I've lost count at one, a couple of years ago, I lost count of how many that is, so.
Okay, all right. Any questions, council?
No questions.
So this allows us not to have to go out to bid this year, but to hold that off for an additional year.
That is correct. That would be ideal for us as we are going through our first audit of what I would call my books in FY23. When I came in July of 22, during that audit, we received a lot of support from our former finance director. She was a great help during that. But I was not as familiar with the ins and outs, transactional flows, those challenges there. So now that I am, it's going to be much easier to have the continuity of those professional services of SB and Company because they know us. I know them. I know how they run their audits, what their high expectations are for audit field work. So it just would be a little bit more. It makes it much easier transition for us this year and during the audit.
And
to
do you
continue with them.
anticipate then that you would go out to bid next year, that we would go out to bid for these services next year?
We can do that if council so chooses. If they can keep their fees relatively similar to, we could certainly do that, yes. But it would be, we see with some of the modernization that we want to do in the finance department, it would be it would be much easier if we were able to retain the same auditor to see us through that. We could certainly do it with another auditor. I think if we went out to bid, they would still be the lowest bidder because they are constantly the lowest bidder in neighboring counties. But we could certainly do that if council so chose.
Thank you. All right. I will approve the extension of agreement.
Okay.
Second?
Okay, we got a motion seconded to go ahead and approve the extension of the agreement. Madam Secretary, could you go ahead and call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Heath?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, Martha.
All right, thank you, Martha, good job.
And council, just as we approach July 1st, which is right around the corner, I just want to thank council on behalf of all of our employees. We're grateful for your work on the budget. It's exciting for our department heads. They can move forward with the projects and initiatives that you've approved. And again, I thank you for your support. That completes your county manager report for this week.
Okay, all right, Mr. Stamp, good job. Next on the agenda is public comment. Is there?
And nobody has signed up to speak this evening.
Okay, that's good. Okay, I'm going to open it up. Anybody want to come on up? No? No? Okay. You're welcome to come up. I'm looking at you.
Terrence Bernard, Easton, Maryland.
Good evening, Terrence. How you doing?
Oh, fine, thanks.
Good.
Hope everyone can make their earlier appointments today
Yep, yep.
or this evening. Today, I followed up a little bit on the comment I made 1 or 2 meetings ago about bicyclers and the new pathway that's going to open up, bring more tourism in or bicycling accessible. And I saw in here, there's a conflict to me, it seems like. Talbot County had one item there about bicycling here, a bicycle map. And there's a comment that 16 years and younger, you need a helmet. And apparently there's nothing in there about anyone over that age where they want bicyclers to follow the rules and regulations of vehicles out on the road. And then what happens? So then I went to the city, and the city, it seems like you can ride a bicycle on the sidewalk. And then there was another stipulation that ride in the road in the same flow of traffic, use hand signals, have a horn on the bike. And then the city also wants you to register your bike so they can look it over and check brakes and so forth. And I don't know if any of these are followed, if a tourist comes in on vacation and wants to ride a bike. Perry's Cabin, what do their bicycles have? Do they have horns and so forth, registered and all of this, you know? Not to deter business, but it'd be nice if there was a grouping that would substantiate someone coming into the area or people that are in the area. And
That's a good point.
a reference and so forth. Now, I was surprised coming to the meeting tonight. I came down Washington by Idlewild Park, and there was a woman there on a bicycle, and she literally was using her hand signals, which I did not see here. You know, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to know the helmet, what's allowed, what's not. We don't want an injury, we don't want an accident, you know. Liability, this and that, but it would only seem like if you're gonna follow the rules of vehicles, then some things can apply or some not. And then it said if the city had a variance or something, then they could ride this way. It went on to the attorney's site, popped up out of Baltimore and said, no, you know, helmets, everyone wears a helmet. And so
Okay.
that's all, just
Okay.
something to think about in the coming summer.
All right, but thanks a
Thank you.
lot. I appreciate it.
Terrence.
Thanks a lot, Terrence. Anybody else like come up? Okay, all right. All right, well, go ahead and close that. Next would be council comments. Ms. Melky.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I just wanted to wish everyone a glorious and grand 4th of July. It's coming up.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I had the opportunity to tour Chesapeake College last week, and Clay, you're going to have to help me out on this. I toured the EMT facility. Oh my gosh, it is amazing there. And I was told that they're not called mannequins anymore because they're like real life. What are they called? Do you know what they're called?
They're just fully automated. I guess a mannequin is an insult to them now.
Yes,
because
I
they're just-
know. They're called something else.
It's
They're
high
called
technology.
They're called something else, and I can't remember what they told me. But anyway, they had socks on. There was a pregnant one there, and I was so amazed to see that and just how they operate. I even had an opportunity to go in the OR and see the students that were in there. So they have an awesome program. So just love supporting that college and seeing the technology that they're incorporating in a lot of their programs. And echo what Councilwoman Milky said, happy 4th of July to everyone as we celebrate next week.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lesher?
Well, I will echo those best wishes and add that however we celebrate, whether on the road or on the water or anywhere else, that we do so safely.
Okay.
I guess I'm the quad echo of everyone, wishing everyone a wonderful and joyous 4th. Prayers for safety if traveling, safety if not traveling, and a wonderful time with family and friends. So,
And I'll do the same with my colleagues. You know, they're all special holidays, but this is a special holiday, and you know, we need to be safe and make sure that we all have fun, but just be smart about it. That's for sure. And you know, back to what you were saying, Clay, with staff, and you know, you thanking us about the budget and stuff. We want to thank you. You know, it was great working with staff, and I think we come up with a great budget this year. You know, we took care of a lot of things for a lot of departments, and not only that, we really looked out for the community on a lot of things, and we're doing really good work for this community. That you can see that between Ray Clark, Public Works, Cassandra, with tourism, you know, this council's doing a lot, and we're going to do a lot, and we appreciate this community supporting us. So, being that said, thank you and have a good holiday, Mr. Lesher.
The County Council will be meeting with representatives from Maryland Department of the Environment on Thursday, July 6th at 1:45 p.m. in the Y Oak Room at the Talbot County Community Center. The County Council's next meeting will be held on Tuesday, July 11th, beginning at 5 o'clock p.m. The Council will be convening an open session at 2:30 p.m. For a meeting with representatives from the Maryland Association of Counties, and then adjourning into closed session to discuss real estate, legal, and personnel matters as listed on the statement for closing that meeting. Therefore, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting and reconvene as noted?
So moved.
Okay, we got a motion second. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Thank you, appreciate it.